Enfield, back in the early 50s and 60s, was really a farming town. It was Jim Crow era, segregated. I actually grew up with my grandparents first before going to live with my dad. My mom and dad separated when I was 1 year old. My mom, she had left to go to New York City, so I really only remember her 2 or 3 times growing up. When I was 9 years old, she came back. We headed off to the other side of town, which was my dad's house. Everybody was solemn, everybody was quiet in the car, and it really felt like a funeral, but we were the only car in the procession. And I can remember that long path turning into that plantation, and next thing I know was I was out of the car, and it felt like almost like they were just dropped, like a hitchhiker just being dropped off someplace. We were still living in a slave hut. My stepmom and my dad, they still acted as if they were slaves. My dad didn't go to church. He drank a lot. He couldn't read or write, and he was abusive. When I worked in the field, he would take all of my money. Sometimes he would give me a nickel. But because he was such a demanding person, I got this drive. The thing that I found that I could do as a kid was work harder than anybody, even the adults. And that's how I got the appraise that I was seeking. But my dad was disapproval. My mom had left me. So I'm here by myself, and the only person I got to depend on is me. The letters that I did receive once in a while from my real mother, I would always look forward to those. And then I used to write her back sometimes and say, when I turn 16, I'm coming to find you. I turned 16. I bought a one-way ticket to New York. So the bus pulls out, and it just disappears. Enfield disappears into the background. It wasn't until the bus opens up at the Port Authority in New York that reality hits. It was really massive and scary. I looked in my pocket, and I had $1.72. I'm trying to find my mother. You know, I had not seen her in 7 years, and I didn't know why she only wrote me sporadically. We walk into her apartment, and there she introduces me to her husband and her 3 kids, which was a total surprise and shock to me because I didn't know that she had started another family. I've seen her 3 times in my life, and the struggles that I did with my father and the beatings and the enslavement that I had to endure with him. And then I now have to secretly save all of my money before this one day that I'm gonna go find her. And the one day that you do that turns out to be a falsity. And the next thing I know, I'm back in Enfield. But I was old enough to be able to work now and then finish school as well. And then I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. I became a PI. I would have to go in and infiltrate an organization. Even my family didn't know what I was doing, and I couldn't tell them where I was going. So the way I transitioned into security, there's this other gentleman. He had this security installations that went from Monticello, New York to Union, New Jersey, and that was going to become my territory, about $50 million worth of assets. When the Meadowlands Sports Complex was going to be open, they needed somebody to go down to head this. So he tapped me to go to establish the Meadowlands Sports Complex Security Division. Here I am, one of the premier sports complexes in the world. Ended up being vice president, meeting 6 presidents in my lifetime, meeting the Pope, meeting every single star that you can think of. It was just incredible. Here's a kid who was basically abandoned by his mother, stayed with an abusive father, ran away from home. To be where I am today, I'm the luckiest man on the face of this earth. I've had a pretty good, successful career. And I think about all those orphan kids. I think about those kids whose parents have gone, who have no way out. I can help them. I could mentor them. So that's why I started Foster Voice Foundation, to be able to be a voice for those who are silent. These kids, they're hurting inside. And we know that if you're a foster child, you are 50% more likely to go back into the system. You'll have a kid, that kid will also go back into the system. It's crazy. If we can stop that, change the narrative, change the dynamic some way, you're not going to reach them all, but you can reach one, you can reach two, then you can change the dynamics of those kids that will end up in poverty, that end up on the streets, that end up homeless, that end up with nothing in the world.